Hello. So for week 5, I actually really like this. I really like this topic. I want to make sure my audio is coming through. Yes, it is. Okay. I just got to double check every time. This week's, these topics are very complex. And when you put it in perspective of like how long ago this was, I like it. I really like Kant specifically. So this reflection prompt, trace that lineage in your own words, showing how each step leads to the next and then make an argument. Is transcendentalism a fruitful philosophy? One that gives us something real and useful for thinking about how we live, or does it collapse under scrutiny somewhere along the way? So I argue for it. I'm going to start off by saying I agree with it, and then I'm going to go through this. I have some notes because this is like compared to the other things to me, this is very complex. Even today, I was like, I kind of there are bits and pieces of all of it I understand in my own way, but for the lineage, philosophy begins as the shift from mythos to logos, from explaining the world through story and tradition to actually interrogating it. That shift matters here because transcendentalism is essentially the argument that interrogation eventually turns inward, and that what you find there is more reliable than any external authority. So I'm just going to say because I like sharing my personal thoughts, this is philosophy. I think everything's internal, personally. So that aligns with me and how I look at the world. But that's all I'm going to share because it's not a debate about personal beliefs right now. But I like sharing because it is my own philosophy. My philosophy is the boss of me. So, transcendentalism's most defensible core is this: moral authority has to be internalized to be real. And when I think about morals, it serves up images for me. What is right or wrong? And I think people define that differently, obviously. Um, but I agree with this is that it it has to be internalized. You can say, "Oh, I don't like this or that," but if you don't follow that, well, then you're not. A person who follows a rule only because an institution demands it hasn't developed moral understanding. They've developed compliance. And for me, that triggers a lot of things in certain types of people and groups of people. And I think from my experience in the real life, that's true. I think most people don't have morals at all. And the people that are shouting the most, you're more, are the most corrupt and evil. So why do they care? We're all just living. The obvious pushback is that trusting the inner voice is dangerously vague. And I saw someone else's video that brought up mental illness. I think that's important, especially in today's world. I have my own experience in mental illness. I grew up around it. And I think it's valid to not trust, even though this goes against my own belief, it is valid to not trust someone's internal dialogue if it's altered, if it's psychosis or drug induced or trauma induced. And I saw someone else bring that up as a objection against, I think it was the soliloquy we were talking about. And I think I never thought of that before, but that's valid. Because someone can think they're Jesus, someone could think that a tree is talking to them, and it's not real. But in their mind, it's real. And how do you distinguish general moral insight from self serving rationalization? How does someone say this is good or bad, or this is how I navigate this world and get what I want and not feel bad? And I think part of a religion is I can say I'm forgiven and do whatever I want. And history is full of people that trusted their convictions and caused enormous harm. Crusades, what we got going on in the Middle East right now. Emerson does not answer this, or Emerson actually answers this, just not loudly enough. He never said self trust was passive, he called it disciplined self culture. The ongoing work of testing insight against experience, refining it, letting it cost you something, so taking a risk. And I think that's valid because how many people might theorize a way to live but don't act on it? We should do this or that, and then they just do what they always do. I'm just going through it. This stuff triggers a lot in my mind. I'm trying not to bring too much of my own identity because I want to keep it neutral. Transcendentalism doesn't collapse under scrutiny. It just refuses to offer false certainty, which is exactly what a philosophy operating honestly in a complex world should do. It doesn't claim the inner voice is always right, which I'll share from my experience through trauma recovery and DBT. Many times I'm in danger, something bad's going to happen. The opposite. Anytime I've catastrophized has never happened. And I'm bringing that to my own philosophy, how I will look at the world of, even though I think it all comes from inside, which I still do, there has to be a pushback, a resistance to, maybe that's not real. It doesn't claim that, or it doesn't claim that inner voice is always right. It claims that developing the capacity to hear it clearly and live by it seriously is the only path to genuine moral agency. That's not a weakness in the framework. That's the point of it. Which kind of also leads back to, I think, Therefore I Am of last week. Because you're taking your inner and you're taking your experiences, and this is like when I'm challenging those against morals and complex thought patterns, which is really interesting. I used to not live like this. So now that I can critically think and observe stuff, I love this stuff. But this is why I like Kant. Kant flipped the script on where truth comes from. He argued the mind shapes the experience rather than the other way around, which I really like. Because for me personally, depending on my mood, things I've been through in different parts of my life, I look at one thing differently. It's like watching a show you watched as a kid, as a 20-year-old in 30s. Every time, my own experience is different. That's just me. I like speaking for myself because I don't want to speak for anyone else. That means truth comes from within, not from kings or churches or tradition. Everything Emerson builds starts here. And this is kind of goes along with my view that binary logic doesn't work in a complex world where it's yes or no, all or nothing, black or white. The world I experience is always widening and changing, and it's a spectrum. Transcendentalism doesn't promise certainty, and that's, oh, I already said this. Okay, I've got a couple of different notes here. Let me go back over the prompt. Oh, and I'm defending this. Defending against the most serious objection you can construct. So an easy objection is this stuff is kind of introspective and spiritual, which can be grouped with astrology and religion, which I don't believe in. And yes, I can say it's all from within and it can shape, but I can't prove that. I can't do a test. I can't hook up ECG to my brain and prove this. It can easily be disproven, and I accept that. And that's why I like the idea of philosophy is I don't know. I shape my own philosophy with the background knowledge of I could be wrong, and I'm open to new ideas. I don't believe in anything that exists right now. I think there's new things. I'd rather be open than shut. I think that's the most serious objection. And then it says, identify its strongest claim. Yeah. So the strongest claim to me is transcendentalism is the evolution of inner self, outer experiences, and the world being shaped in reality. The most serious objection is that can't be proven. It's not physical, and I can't show it to anyone. Whereas with science, we can do tests on gravity levels or air particle concentrations. Not yet can I test how I view reality, what reality even is, and how does my mind change the way we shape it. But I want to tangent a thing, because I love quantum computing, because it takes quantum mechanics principles into reality, superposition, entanglement. They actually use these. So, and also like the double slit experiment, if observation at all affects the actual base reality, then we'll probably never be able to define it because everyone can change it. But I like this topic. I'm pretty sure I went over all this. And it's just fun. I'm so glad I live in the world now where I can just learn this stuff. Where for most of our dark humanity, people only ever believe what they were told.